Righto, welcome back. Time to roll the dice again. I give myself a smaller dice box this time so it's a little bit easier. Just grab the pen and roll the dice. This is my Personas. This isn't the roll. It's my Personas number 5. There's only 5 people left on this dice now. I've made it a little bit fancier so you can show it off. So I'm going to give this a throw. And we have Lykios. Lykios's request was very, very vague. I'm going to show you this now. Let me just close this down. Can I? Oh no, it's quit. Right, let's put the pen down for a second. So I don't know who this is. Don't even know their pronoun. This is like literally someone who just seemed to find my Twitter. And their request was... download this. Show in folder. I'm just opening it up on the other screen. Right, let's bring it over here. Oh, I should have opened it. Let's try again. Here we go. So this was the entirety of their request, which was this, but a femboy. Now, I don't know all the nomenclature. I believe that a femboy is a kind of gender non-conforming male who appears femme. I believe that's what that means. So we're going to go with it. Obviously, I'm not going to do it on all fours. I'm going to do... I guess if it's a femboy, it would... Yeah, we'll go with male pronouns for this. I'm going to draw him standing up... standard Persona style. As you can see, flame glasses and smoking a cigarette and like a grey... I think that's a wolf. I think it's a grey wolf. Yeah, I don't know what this is from, but this is the request. So, let's just lock the background. Right then. Make sure that the pen's actually working. Yeah, that seems about right. Pose. I don't know, I get the impression that the pose should be a kind of... almost like a kind of arched back, cigarette in one hand kind of appearance. Like... almost slightly aloof. The actual hand would be sort of... you know... that kind of look. That's how I'm picturing this. That's the kind of pose that I have in mind. So for this, I guess you'd need an arched back. We're gonna do a fairly square shoulders front on this. I guess the chest is like that, isn't it? A chest is that shape. Let's try and get some anatomy in here. A chest has the sort of solar plexus. I don't know what this character's going to wear, actually. What do femboys wear? Do they wear anything? Should I just do this as a kind of... the sort of standard featureless, non-clothed furry? I don't know. I feel like it should wear something. Maybe a sarong. Or one of those... got those little skirts that they wear on beaches. I don't know. The only femboy that comes to mind in terms of characterization is one from the what's it called? There's a video game series called Guilty Gear. I think it was Guilty Gear X, in which it was a fighting game. And one of the characters was a kind of... was meant to be a sort of a femboy character who was, to all intents and purposes, a nun. And that character's name was Bridget. Now, I don't know if I'm misremembering any of this. I may be. If I am, very sorry to femboy culture. I literally don't know anything about it. Yeah. I'm quite tired. I didn't do any art over Christmas. I feel like this arm needs to come further forward. Maybe sort of like that. If this is the shoulder here, this is a shoulder here. This part of the arm, like when you've got the arm completely out straight, it is completely straight. This arm is completely straight. Like there's no bend in this arm. The only bend comes at the wrist. Seems about right. And then this paw will be holding a cigarette, I guess. Except that we're going to have the inside of the paw here, so it's going to be like that, and the cigarette's going to be held. It's maybe a little bit large for the paw. Hand, paw, I don't know. This is still very much human form that I'm working on here. I guess the chest centre would be slightly further forward because this is a sort of 3D form at this point, because that arm comes off this side, that one goes off that side, so you don't see that one, but you do see this one kind of coming in. The neck, I don't know. I mean, when I try and think of what a femboy form would look like, my main sort of takeaway from that is you would need it to be a human shape, because like how would you otherwise know that it was femme? Like apparently some people can tell the difference between male and female animals, and I can't. Like the other day when I did my picture of the Alsatian, the German Shepherd dog, the person for whom I was doing an Alsatian fursona said to me, "Is that a male Alsatian?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, it is. How could you tell?" And they were like, "Oh, you can tell." And I was like, "You can tell?" And that terrifies me, because I've just realised I messed this up. I've messed this up a lot. Because oh my god, I'm drawing the wrong one. Let me get the list back up. I've mixed two of the names upon this list. Yeah. Sorry, that was... So that was Tetra asked for that. Let me get my list up. The first half of this is a complete bust because I'm doing the wrong character. I gotta stick to my system though, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna start again, because this is, as pleased as I am with this, it's the wrong character. I suppose I've got some of the junk out of my hand at this point. How the hell do I bring up the... Yeah, that's Tetra. Damn. So, let's start again. Shall I save this now? I'll go again from scratch when I do this the second time. Let's just clear the layer. Let's begin again. Lykios, or just, yeah, Lykios, Lykios, is a big grey wolf with long dark hair, blue eyes, and black sclera, which is going to be really interesting given the way that I draw. Wearing zippered hoodies, graphic tees, black shorts, dark pants, sneakers. I mean, you wouldn't wear black shorts and dark pants at the same time, so I guess I have a choice there. Sneakers just means trainers. I don't really draw shoes. I'll do my best. So, from the top, someone who, like, when I think of someone wearing a hoodie, my first thought is that they will have the hood up. Of course, for the long black hair, you're not going to have that. Let me just keep the description up. For long dark hair, yeah, you're not going to have that. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with... how much time did I waste on that? Oh, not much time. Didn't waste much time on that. But I think of people in hoodies as being sort of slumped over, not slumped, but kind of shoulders forward, hands in pockets, kind of. Kind of the teenager in the rain look. If you know what that is, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we're going to have... Let's think about this. We're talking like... I'm going to stick with that same form that I did before. There's going to be a more head-on shot rather than a sideways shot, but maybe a little off to the side. Maybe a little off to the side. But this is very much a closed-in look. So your arms would sort of naturally curl into pockets, sort of thing, which is great for me because I don't have to draw any hands then. The struggle is real. So that's the front of the chest. We have neck here. It's a wolf, so wolves have the sort of the dog ears, kind of in this sort of space. It's going to look off kind of this direction. And if the actually, let's start again. If the gesture we're going for, the shape is kind of hunched over, maybe they should be sat down. Sat down sounds like a good idea. Actually, I haven't drawn that many seated characters. So if we've got let's just imagine a kind of bench. Maybe if it's a chair, we'll fill in later. So if it's on a kind of a bench, this character, then we've got the kind of arched back, sort of sitting like this. Legs here. Maybe not arched that much. They're not hunched over. And then sort of the toes on the ground. I don't know how tall this character would be, but then we don't know how high what they're sitting on is, so. I like the idea that they're sort of perched on a bench with their feet tucked underneath. Like this kind of shape. And if that's kind of the corner there, the knees would be. Maybe a hand on the leg kind of there. This sort of shape maybe. Slightly fatter top part of the arm than the bottom part of the arm. Head kind of maybe higher than that. Would they have more neck than that? Yeah, and then this would sort of come out this way. There's an interest that they've actually given me a little photo here. You can't see it because it's on my phone, but they've actually shown me a previous rendering of this character. So I'm trying not to base it too much on it, but it is a constant worry to me what hair does on furry characters around the ears. And at least in this case, the fur kind of comes between the ears, and there's nothing in this space here. So for the ear there's no fur that kind of goes in front of it, which is probably a good thing. So So let's do the back of the bench kind of there-ish. I'm sort of filling this in from base principles because I don't have a model to base it on. Like I don't have a person who I'm basing this on. So let's do this arm kind of here on the bench, hand kind of splayed out. This person is in a zippered hoodie, so the hood would be down here at the back. And what's the description of the other outfit? Dark pants. That's just trousers, right? Would the tail go up or would it go down? Think about it. If you sat there, your tail kind of begins there at the back. Would it come up or would it go down? I think it would go down, and here's my thinking behind that, because I saw a kind of behind the scenes thing about the movie The Golden Compass, in which they said that when they were animating wolves, well, when they were filming the scenes with the wolves, they used husky dogs to act out the parts of the wolves. And one thing that they noted about the huskies was that they had to CGI their arses because huskies were very excited to be part of the film, when in fact they should have been like snarly, angry beasts, and so their tails were constantly wagging throughout the filming of the scenes. I've got to be careful to make this definitely look like someone who's resting on the balls of their feet and not like someone who is wearing high-heeled shoes. So we'll see how well that turns out. We need to make sure that is kind of... there needs to be a wrinkle there to show that that is what's going on at this point in the shoe. Worry about that when we get to the actual thing itself. For this we have a hooded top, which will come around sort of like that, and then here we have the hood at the back. Probably see around the back of there as well. Yeah, and then we'd have kind of eyes. Let's zoom in a bit to get this right. Must be kind of the right shape. I guess that needs to be completely level, because this head is not tilting either direction. That is a completely flat head. So yeah. Need to make sure that it needs a kind of a boxy shape, so we need that to be very evident. Well, it does actually, in the photos that they've shown, the mouth is slightly open to reveal big teeth. So maybe we need to make sure that those teeth are visible. So we'll do an open mouth on this. Long black hair, coming kind of down here. Maybe a bit over the top here as well. Yeah. I'm guessing if they like the teeth, they probably also like claws. The claws would be let's get this right. If this hand this flat. I know we're doing it kind of paw-like, but if that's the shape of where the fingers are, so that's finger 1, finger 2, finger 3, finger 4. This then comes back up here. Then the thumb is going to be like here-ish. I feel like that needs to flow nicely into the arm. In fact, it probably, thinking about it, if you're resting on an arm, no, if you're resting, no, tool select, there we go. If you're resting on an arm, you don't want it to be out in front of you. You want it to be kind of almost underneath yourself, because it's got to hold your weight, right? So that would actually be more kind of there, and the arm would be a tighter bend. And that would go behind the leg. So that immediately erases the worry of what, you know, how do we show that? Oh, get a pen. Get an actual pen. Immediately erases the worry of how do we draw the thumb, because the thumb won't be visible. In fact, neither will most of the arm, because most of it's going to be here. Let's divide that down the centre, and again there. We have the thumb here. That's about right. Extend the 2 centre ones, because that's how it goes. Probably just have a hint of thumb there, just so you get the impression that there is something there. Needs to be ultimately a straight line there. There we go. Let's not worry too much about the sneakers. I mean, I guess you'd need to have the actual kind of, there's a tongue part that goes down the front, isn't there? You got that's, if that's like the base, the sole of the shoe, then you also have like the bit that comes up here with your laces on. So yeah, as I was saying, the tail should kind of come this way. Like this, because the tails of wolves tend not to wag. So that's, I think that's our pencils done. I think that's the best we're going to do for pencils. Graphic T. I don't know what graphic we're going to have there, but there'll be something. So I don't think that's too abhorrent as a concept. Let's start on the inks. I'm trying to speed up the work that I do, because I think that spending too much time worrying about fiddly details is what's kind of destroying me on a lot of these pieces. So, yeah. Hang on, let me just head back to here. So, thinking about it, these shoes, they have to have a feel of being three-dimensional, which means that that angle and that angle have to be almost more head-on for this. So we need to make sure that we capture that, otherwise they will have this look of being kind of sideways feet on a forward body. And that should come out less there and more forward. We'll do the best we can. Right then. Should we start on the head? We usually start on the head, but I feel like this time around I want to start with the jacket and the arms, because I feel like that's going to be our biggest stumbling point on this. So this hoodie is... like we're going to have the inner lining of this kind of take over at first. Oh. The thing about hoodies is they tend to be quite not lumpant, but they've got a kind of a slightly rumpled feel to them. This arm's going to have a... So in situations like this where it kind of comes in at the side here, there's almost a feel of a kind of internal space to it. So it's like it's not going to go straight off the arm and then like that and then the hand comes out like that, because it's going to be too thick for that. So what we need is for the... If we have the curve of the arm there, it's going to come up slightly, like that. But it's going to come up slightly from behind there, so the arm comes out of here. That looks really bad. The reason that looks really bad is because we've put the hand on backwards, basically. We'll worry about the hands later. Let's get the foreground bits in first. So underneath this hoodie we have dark pants, whatever that means. So these are going to come up here. I may have to erase this line later. Thinking about it, I initially drew this with a corner, and I think I was right to, because when you think about it, where the arse kind of meets the table, it's gonna come to about here, and it's gonna curve there, but there's gonna be a space where it's kind of flat. Did I say table? It's bench, where it meets the bench. And then from here we're going to have the tail. No, that's... we want to get this in sort of 3D. So if the edge of the bench is here, where it goes under the knees, then I want this to kind of almost curl up and sort of flop off it there. So just back to the pencils here. So what we really want is for it to kind of come off like this. So we have wider fur there, narrower fur here, wider fur there, narrower fur there. I know what I'm doing. So this is into there, and then we... oh, God, no. And then this one kind of comes inward here, but then has... like that. Yeah, it works. Maybe just a little bit of overlap just there. Yeah. Sneakers. Let's... these are going to be curved. Get it in one line or don't do it at all. See, that's wrong, and I'll tell you why it's wrong. It's because we need that edge. That edge is going to take it like this, so that we can then do the same thing here. Not quite. Because that has to follow the edge of that better. Much better. Which one of these looks better, the flatter one or the thicker one? I feel like the thicker one looks better, so I'm going to get rid of that and redo the thicker one. Yeah. So we're going to have sneakers have shoelaces, right? That's not my imagination. When we think about it, let's just do it in another colour so we can get this exactly right. The centre line is going to be further this way. So, thinking 3D space here. Where these laces cross, it's going to be there. Like so. So that's our sneakers, yeah. Let's get onto this head. So now where did dogs have their eyes on the front of the head, right? So wolves, they're predators. So the centre line, let's get back to this. The centre line here that goes down to the centre of the nose. How long is the wolf's... Let's clear this out a little bit. Let's clear this out a little bit so that we can get this right. So if the centre line is here, and we're going to have this eye kind of here on the edge where it's going to meet up on the muzzle kind of there, then we should have the same amount of muzzle there before we get to this eye. So this eye should be here, this eye should be here. But they should be larger than that. This might look a little strange with the eyes on the outside, but that's not the strangest thing that's going to happen on these eyes, so. Would that look bulgy if it was there? Maybe what I need is to have the eye kind of there and the side of the head sort of there-ish. Or maybe the secret is to have, like, reimagine the perspective on this. I'm drawing line over line over line here, so you can't really see what I'm doing, but let's get rid of some of this. If we make the centre line there, here we go, reimagining the form halfway through the image. Right, so if that's the centre of the head, then we know that we've got that much space. We can do an eye in this space and an eye in this space here, and that will work. So with that in mind, let's get some hair in. Yes, I said hair. Try that again. So we know we have longish hair here. And we need to have essentially part of the hair come over that there. I don't draw hair a lot. This part of the hair comes down here in front. Let's and then we have a bit of the head here, behind which further hair comes down, but that's going to go behind the hoodie, so we don't need to worry too much about that. So I feel like we can almost erase that line at that point once the ear has kind of gotten through the hair. So now we get into the eyes. And this is the way that I construct eyes at the moment, is I do an over eyelid first, then the under. Should the mouth go all the way back to here? That seems too far. Now, here's the thing with these eyes, is that they're meant to have, as it says, black sclera. That's what's normally considered the white part of the eye. So we have a black sclera. I assume I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ooh. Like, this may be easier to do if we start with the blue part. So we have a pupil. Let's have them looking directly at the camera. The pupil, and then we have the sclera. No, those eyes look very wrong. Rewind, rewind, rewind. Let's just neaten up the actual form of the eyes first. Zoom in a little bit. That's the good thing about doing this on a tablet, is you can zoom in to get the form right if you feel like you've done something wrong. Maybe the eyes need to be larger. Maybe that's the secret to this. Maybe if I did the eyes a little bit bigger, it would look slightly better. One thing I do know about wolves is that the jawline shouldn't be that high. So if we have this eye looking straight forward here, this eye looking straight forward here, let's just quickly come down to here. If we were to make the blue part of the eye that size and this size, that gives us a clear reference for where the black part here should be. Ooh. And as we have done with all the rest of these, let's add it. Yeah. As we've done with all the rest of these, we'll add Think about it, if that's the sphere of the eye. Stick it there, there. Yeah, we'll do the colours later. I know I've got colour in there at the moment, but let's leave that till later. And the teeth. Oops. So let's think about teeth now. We're going to have canines, which are sort of these largish teeth that go here. There's going to be... Oof, no, that's terrible. That is terrible. So if that's our centre line there, we know that we need to have essentially 4 teeth in that space. Maybe if we just do them as and then a hint of that canine there. That works. That kind of works. Neaten up that line. I've not got this ear in yet. And let's... Oh yeah, we've not got the hands yet, have we? It's shaping up pretty well though. I'm kind of liking where this is going. Can we get that back? There we go. Zoom in a bit. Let's get these hands done. So this one we're pretty pleased with. We're going to do claws on this. I feel like we should do claws, but sort of not the thin cat claws, kind of a chunkier kind of dog kind of claw, like this. And then we're going to have a similar thing here. This hand feels like it's maybe a little bit too curled, like that. I don't know. I kind of drew it more as a paw than the other one. Maybe it needs to be more kind of like this. I don't know. Let's go back to the pencils for it. So imagine for a second we're not going to draw any of that hand as it is. Suddenly we have an empty space without a hand. We know roughly where it's going to go. We know it's going to go flat on here. It's going to open out a little bit for the fingers. kind of want it flatter. I feel like there should be a curve to it almost. Because if we do it like this, it makes the fingers seem like they're curling downwards, which I guess is a natural position for them. Yeah, so that'll be down to there. This one will come to here. It's not that different to how it was originally. Yeah, so let's go with it. And somewhere around here we have the thumb come out. The thumb will come out. I don't know what this character's actually sat on. Maybe we need a little bit of contact with some ground. What are they going to be stood on? I feel like the contact with the bench is quite well defined. Contact with the ground is not. Hang on a second. This is a hoodie. If this is a hoodie, why does the hood not have an open section where it should? So hoodies have a kind of open part to them. That should come up more there. In fact, that should almost kind of come around like that. So this is where we stand with it at the moment. I feel like we're doing pretty well. Problems with the mouth to fix. Let's get in there quickly. Let's just, whoops. I feel like it needs something there and it needs for this to be there. This needs to have more of that kind of shape. This needs to come down more as well. See, on the one hand, I feel like it looks too menacing, but on the other hand, I feel like black scleras can't not look menacing. Like, it's an impossible task to try and get that to not look menacing. Was I drawing that? I don't know. Should we do a kind of a ruff? Does it need a ruff? I might undo exactly everything that I'm doing right now just to... I don't know, does that help? It feels like that helps. It feels like that helps, so I'm going to do it for real. like it needs to. Wolves have a kind of a rough going on, don't they? Right, let's start colouring. Let's just get rid of that first though. Let's start colouring. How are we doing for time? What time is it? Well, not bad. I've had about an hour on this so far. That's actually pretty whoops. Pretty much maps to what I've done so far, so good job. Grey wolf, obviously, so we're going to go for grey as our primary colour. We'll fill in the other bits later. There isn't actually an awful amount of fur showing on this when you think about it. There's your face. Before I forget, wolves tend to have a whiter part on the muzzle, don't they? They tend to be a lighter grey there. Don't know how far back that bit goes though. Ah. We'll work on that later. We need a darker grey for the nose. And now that I've seen that, I've realised the mistake that I've made here, which is that these lines are good lines, but they should not be in black. They should be in white. Oops. Oh, of course, I've got my thick pen on. Of course, the nose is a shiny part. While we're on white, let's go to behind mode. Actually, no, we don't need a bit. We've already filled it in. We don't need behind mode. We need in front mode. It was blue eyes, right? Yes. Did I bookmark it? I did not, because I am not that smart. Pretty sure I liked it though. I like a lot of things though, so it might take a while to scroll back to it. Nope, the easiest way is going to be to go through the replies. Blue eyes, black sclera. Right, and so what colour eyes are blue eyes? Because they're kind of a... It's more sort of grey blue, isn't it, a blue eye? Wrong layer. Quite a sands going on there, which I like. So for the hair, I think we should go for a dark colour, but not necessarily like a completely dark colour. When I think of dark hair, I think of it more kind of dark brown rather than... It didn't say black hair, let's put it that way. So I feel like we need a kind of... like that, but maybe darker. I mean, it's a thing I say anyway to pretty much everyone that I do this for, that if I misinterpret your colour requests, I will happily recolour them, because that's quite an easy part of this. I know I missed like 2 days. I didn't do Christmas Eve or Christmas Day when I was drawing. Ultimately, I was too tired from all the stuff that we did building up toward Christmas. You know, it's the big gobble. You know, you got to get your turkey stuff ready. Apparently Americans don't do like turkey at Christmas, they do it at Thanksgiving. They're more likely to have a ham or something. But in the UK we have a turkey at Christmas. Or a goose. But this year we had a turkey. We had a goose one year. Goose is delicious. It really is. I should probably fix that up. By that, I don't know if you saw it or not. There's a bit here which looks like it should really just be not quite. That's better. See, I don't know what colour to make this other than various different shades of grey, because let's mix it up a bit. I think that a dark red hoodie would work nicely. Before we start that though, let's just I always like to put a little bit of stitching detail on garments that I draw. There. Maybe a dark blue would work better. that's better colour. And because this is so huge, we can use a larger brush to get the broad strokes. The literal broad strokes. Great thing about drawing slightly lumpy things like hoodies is that if you make a few like line glitches here and there, you can kind of work it into the fold of the fabric, and it looks okay, you know. Like this here, it looks alright because it looks like the fabric's got a little wrinkle in it, and that's fine. That's the inside of that, so we're just going to make sure that's coloured as if it is the inside of the hoodie, and we'll shade it later. Yeah, you heard me right, I'm going to shade this one. I didn't shade the last couple because they're quite sort of light, fluffy, bouncy characters. Both the Super 80s cat, which, let's face it, was practically neon. And the dragon that I did for my brother. Both very... like, it might not, these graphic tees are quite dark. Maybe they don't have to be that dark. Maybe you could get away with the graphic tee being a more... Yeah, I'm going to do the Tom Scott colour. Tom Scott is a YouTuber in the UK who in all of his videos wears exactly the same colour t-shirt. He actually did a video about the t-shirts once. So that's how famous he is for that colour of t-shirt. I think I've probably got the colour slightly wrong actually, but that's okay because I'm not actually drawing Tom Scott. That should be the name of this year's Christmas album. I wish I was drawing Tom Scott right now. It's looking increasingly like the end of year poll, which this year made me a furry and also kind of an experimental cookery person, but I didn't do much of that for reasons I explained earlier. Next year's poll, it looks like I'm going to be doing smut, which means drawing naked bodies, which is great. So maybe if I do if I do draw Tom Scott next year, it'll be quite the risque image. grey paws in. I can go back to this because it's very difficult to tell if I've done a grey line in the right place on a grey background, but if I turn it to a white background, suddenly all the gaps stand out like mad. It's like shafts of light piercing the clouds. I can pick up a few little glitches here and there as well. Now, I've done this by accident. I just realised I've done this, but I've done this by accident. But this could actually almost have been an intentional thing. If you look at the fingers on these hands, the ring finger is longer than the index finger. Like I said, I didn't do this on purpose, but it's an interesting thing that, like, there was an old wives' tale type lycanthropy test, which was if you extend your hand and your ring finger is longer than your index finger, that was meant to be like a sign of lycanthropy, a sign of werewolfism. Werewolfism? Is that a thing? I don't know. So I guess I'm going to take this as a win and say yes. That is precisely why the ring finger is longer than the index finger. It's because it's a werewolf, and that's the case with werewolves. Did you not know that? Didn't you know that piece of vital werewolf lore? Well, I'm frankly ashamed that you didn't get that reference. See, kids, knowing shit can help. Oh no, because I've said kids, it's probably going to think this is for children now, and I'm going to get all kinds of... Wait, you addressed kids, but also at the same time you said the bad word. You know, the F word. The fuck word. That one, yes. I haven't decided what this character is sat on yet, but I think I might give them a kind of outdoorsy feel to this image. Give it a kind of darker edge. Because, you know, you think wolf, what do you think of? You think of forest, you think of nighttime, you think of full moons. So maybe this is going to be a nighttime, foresty, full moony kind of image. Wolves have lighter tips on their tails, right? That's a thing I remember. And this should have a curve to it, actually. Hang on, let me start that again. So this should... like that, yeah. Except this tail is... the profile should go like that, so it's... yeah, there we go. In fact, why don't I? What a morph. What a muppet I am. Why don't I give it the actual curve of the ellipse there, and then go back and fill it in later? When I'm backfilling with the other grey. Oh, speaking of backfilling with greys, I should really turn my background back on so that I can see. Oof, makes me go all funny-eyed when I do that. So you can probably hear me burping occasionally. I just had a leftover turkey sandwich earlier for my dinner. Doing too much work on that again. I'm doing it again. Doing it again. What I need to do is just thin line, make it thicker, 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 all the way. There we go. Most of these techniques are just laziness. There's a certain efficiency in laziness. If you're too lazy to do something the sort of proper way, you come up with more efficient ways of doing it because it takes less time and hence you do less work. Little pro tip for you: leverage your negative skills to turn them into positive attributes. So, dark pants. If we're going to have dark pants, I think we should go for a very dark sort of blue to go with the dark blue eyes and the dark blue hoodie, but a kind of a different shade of blue. I feel like this is overall going to be quite a dark image, so I'm not too worried about the amount of dark colours in it. Because if you obviously stick it on a white background, then suddenly everything looks black. But if you put it on a black background, suddenly everything starts to look a little bit more... Whoops. One thing I noticed that I've left off of this that was on my original sketch was the concept of a crotch line. That is to say, a line coming out of the crotch just to give a kind of a sense of groinness to that part of the legs. You've got to be very careful with it. You do it too big, you end up looking like you've got a huge bulge. You do it too small, it might give the impression of a camel toe. This is a wolf, not a camel. So, of course, if this was Smut Week, I'd probably just forget the clothes and give it a big old donger. But this is not Smut Week. Smut Week won't, like, don't expect me to start taking X-rated for Sona requests as soon as the month, like, as soon as the year starts. Even if my selection for 2021 is Smut, I'm probably going to spend the first kind of drawing challenges just doing anatomical stuff. Just doing, I don't know, like boob a day kind of things. Like, hey everybody, let's draw nipples for a month. You know? Should come up with some of the... What were some of the month names now? So we've got Drawcember is this. But originally this was going to be November. But I got carried away. So if we're not doing November, I could do that again next year. But I think I'll probably end up on furry stuff long before November. But I think we need to do like maybe Manuary and draw muscled male torsos. And then for February, obviously, we've got Femuary. We need to, just thinking about it, just thinking about this. I've done nothing on the ears yet here. Here's the question, is the inside of a wolf's ear darker or lighter than the outside? Because I honestly don't know. I need to look up a picture of a wolf ear. Interesting. So it's mostly lighter. But with a kind of... there's a sort of fluffiness that outlines a darker area. So what I need is actually like 3 tones for the ears. they go downwards? Actually, yeah, they should go downwards. Done them all on this side going upwards, so I need to redo that, but these should go down. I worry now that that is actually too light and that I need to darken the entire inside of the ear. And do a little adjustment layer here. Don't freak out, I know exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. It's more like it. There we go. Still got to fill the sneakers in. What colour sneakers? I'm thinking. Let's leave it to the fates. I'm going to type the word sneakers into Google, and whatever design, whatever colours of sneakers come up first is what I do. Ooh, fancy. Yeah, I can see them in that colour sneakers. So this has These have a kind of design on them which goes kind of like sort of, there's a bit at the back there, and then it kind of goes, swoops like that on both sides. Yeah. Actually, it's more kind of, yeah, it actually swoops all the way down to the, what am I doing? Actually swoops all the way down to there. Like that. And then this part kind of comes up like this. What we have is that this part is practically black. Let's go for our darkest grey for this section. Off the background so this is a bit more discernible. This part is black, as is that part, but the difference is, as you'll see in a moment, this one has a kind of, let me just see where the edges are there. Oops. There's a kind of, sort of a shiny edge on it. See, I did all the good ones first. And then all this part was the same colour. I should have just filled the whole thing in actually, but there's another slight quirk to this part. Which is that here There's a kind of this obviously isn't an exact copy of the design that I'm looking at, because that would be plagiarism. But we can get a vague idea of colour style. Right. So that's everything filled in. I feel like what we need to do now is add a shading layer. This will come all the way over the top. And the shading layer is going to fill in, actually it needs to go under the outlines, let's get that right. We know that our light's coming from this direction, so we have a kind of optimum angle for things to be lit from. Actually, I was going to put in that, wasn't I? Let's just get that right first. That seems about right. Should we do the fly? The old trouser fly. Yeah, let's leave that on there. Well, thinking about it, if that's there and that's there, then this is an enormous midsection. It needs to be kind of almost there-ish. If not, let's not worry too much about it. Let's just draw that in there. Assume that everything's a-okay. Yeah, that's fine. Shading, we were doing shading, weren't we? So the legs at this point will be shaded kind of down there. Better see who that is. Let's zoom in a bit just to get these fingers right. So let's think, the side of the hair is going to be here, right? So everything back from here should be dark, everything here should be dark, because it's not in the light. Let's think about it. Anything from there needs to be darker. So basically this side of the face and the nose. There's something worrying about the fact that we can't draw on that part of the nose. That suggests that that's coloured wrong. But we will worry about that in a moment when we're good and ready. Drop the brush size and get into the hair for some detail here. So we know we want to this kind of shape. One thing I do want to note is that I want this eye to shine out kind of above the rest of the darker section of the face. So in fact that should almost kind of come around to there. Right, that's what we've done here. What I want to do here is essentially erase that part and then just draw in the highlight again. Let's think about this. If we're lighting from that direction, we should probably have a shadow over the entirety of this. Thinking about it, like the body should cast a shadow backward onto that part of the tail. That's better. Now, whilst the whole of the sort of this side of the leg, this whole kind of flank is going to be shaded dark, I feel like what I really want is for those claws to still shine out somehow. So I think for the most part I'm going to leave them white, but specifically for the ones that overlap with the shadowed area, I think that what I'm going to have is have the fingers disappear into shadow, which they would do at that angle. But I'm going to have the claws kind of gleam a little. So right, let's worry about some background here now. Let's think about that aspect of this. What I want to do is come up with the sort of the darkest shade of blue that I can think of. Like barely a tone above black. And also kind of greyish. So if I was to draw this in here, I zoom in, is that darker than the... It's just about darker than that. Let me just go straight back to black and fill in some missing parts here. I'm going to turn the shade slightly less dark. It doesn't need to be quite so dramatically shaded. Right, so what are we doing with this dark blue? That's more like it. Save this because when you do a lot of large strokes occasionally it can crash. That's the only problem with using GIMP. Because it has to fill a lot of pixels at once. Yeah, slowly that's lagging behind there. That is entirely down to... What layer is that on? So let's do a full colour of the background there. But from that point there, it's going to switch from a dark grey to a dark green. Because I think what we're going to be sat on is like a tree branch. And I think we need to have sort of a grassy colour underneath. Behind nighttime sky. You know what, let's actually make them dots though, not lines. And then, I've done what I didn't want to do. Merge down, so they're going to be there. Let's have a couple more. That was wrong. Oh. And then I'm going to have, in complete darkness, sort of on this layer, like a few kind of tree-like in fact that's not a tree at all, is it? That's how we draw a tree. These are going to be completely silhouetted, so I don't need to worry too much about the exact shape. Except, do I want them to be in the distance? Do I actually want to have kind of rolling hills and give it the old Bob Ross treatment? Some happy little nighttime trees. I don't have to worry too much about the termination of this because there's going to be a branch in front of it. So what colour is a felled log? Pine bark colour. Let's draw behind. I'm going to fill this on the colour layer. Way back here. Actually, it's going to have to be slightly lighter than that, isn't it? Because we're going to shade it. See, here's the mistake that I've made now. I've done that entire thing in behind mode. If you do too many things in a single stroke, you lose the ability to undo said stroke without taking out a lot of work. One thing I would like to do in the new year, to continue my art, I'd very much like to make a pig crew. I don't know what of, but I feel like maybe people need a hamster sonar. I've seen one which was a duck sonar pig crew and it was amazing. Hello. You're on camera, so don't say anything embarrassing.
Don't say anything embarrassing.
Nope.
How about something embarrassing?
If you say something embarrassing, it will go on the internet forever.
Forever.
And ever. Because the internet is forever, you know.
Ooh. It's got claws.
Yeah. What up?
Good to see you.
Hello.
See how you doing?
Just doing the sort of final bits now. I always do a background last if I'm going to do one. I just felt like doing one today.
Shadow-tastic.
Shadow-tastic. In fact, this should probably cast a shadow up the entire thing. Yeah, I'm getting to that. I'm working with a really large brush here, and I really shouldn't be.
I've got a sniffy nose. I'm going to have a blow.
You going for a blow on your sniffy nose?
I am. So this dog still hasn't eaten a dinner.
Ugh.
She's eaten the biscuit that we gave her, the treat that you broke up.
Oh yeah, she's eating that actually. That's
She's eaten
good.
that. I thought she was eating a dinner, which is it's about £3.
Yeah,
So
it was
it's
a nice Christmas dinner that we bought for her specially.
special Christmas dinner.
Turkey and goose, wasn't it?
Turkey and goose.
And it's all gone. Well, it's all still there. We've put it down and she's not interested.
No, so much so that she'd rather eat the hard, chewy thing.
Yeah, she turned her nose up at that 2 days ago. Oh god, it wasn't even 2 days ago. It was yesterday, wasn't it? It was.
It's Christmas time dilation. It seems like 2
Yeah.
days ago. Anyway, I need to blow my nose. I'll see you in a bit.
You go blow your nose. I'm almost done here. This is meant to be a log, which doesn't really map to the way that I've drawn the legs as if it's sitting on something flat like a bench. But I'm just going to go with it because at this point I'm really tired. Too tired, in fact, to care. Just realised it doesn't matter if the shading goes over the back of there because it's going onto a completely black layer. Right then. And there's one last thing which is a really interesting thing, which is that we should probably have a layer over the top of everything else. And you'll like this because we need to have if I just leave on the outlines and we drop the outlines to 50% opacity because I need to be able to see what I'm doing. What we need to have here on this top layer is a kind of, let's get the brush size back down to something sensible. Watched the new Pixar film today. Soul. It's a good film. I've heard some people have a bit of a problem with the representation in it because it's once again a movie that has a sort of, African American lead who ends up being an amorphous blue blob for a lot of the movie. Or indeed voiced by a white woman for a big chunk of it. Make of that what you will. What I found about it was that I thought, Pixar is still ostensibly making children's films, but this didn't feel like a children's film. It felt very metaphysical almost. looks like we've left on a layer that we shouldn't. No, where's that layer we shouldn't have left on? There we go. So, last thing, we need to have shadows under these legs. Something looks wrong there. Full opacity, there we go. Wrong layer. You might ask what I'm doing here, and what I'm doing here is remarking upon the fact that this grass should theoretically have texture wherever the shadow hits it. Right, let's come up with a crop for this. You know what, actually the moon looked better when it was just a circle. Yeah. I think we're going to call that done. We can do a super moody version with the shading turned right up. Or we can do a slightly less moody version with the shading turned down. I think that's about right. Saved, exported. Save again just to make sure. And we're done. I've got to stop the recording now.